like, what is registration?
Hi, Rachel.
What is going to happen? But
It literally just says we encourage you to ask questions. But it doesn't-
And welcome to all our school board reps. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hi.
I was gonna go look.
Well, we're not
On
gonna do
that.
the cell phone policy.
No?
We haven't done anything since we
So
shared
that would be
draft
part
timeline
of.
with you
Yeah.
guys.
I'm not surprised by anything in there.
Director Roper is heading upstairs as we speak, so she'll be joining us in a few minutes. So welcome everyone to the Hopkins School Board workshop on January 14th, 2025. Welcome, Manuel. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Manuel.
And for this workshop, we are going to be doing what I think is one of the most fun parts of being on the board, which is deciding our board officers and the committees that we'll all be serving on. this upcoming year. So we get to enrich and learn more about our district and board work. And I am so excited to have our board reps here at the table so that you can select which committees you would like to serve on for the year. I know that students have had a deep impact on our board work, and your service will continue that legacy in Hopkins. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome, Director Roper. Nice to see you. So we will just get started quickly with the, or maybe not so quickly, with the officer process. Right now, what we're doing is having a conversation, and then I will be taking notes so that when we're at the board table, this can go more quickly. So we'll just start off right off the top would be chair. I am willing to continue to serve as chair if the board agrees. So I would open up conversation around that seat.
Chair Andreessen, I just really appreciate your willingness to continue to serve as chair. You've done a wonderful job over the past year, and I think we would really benefit from your continued leadership. So thank you for your willingness.
Well, thank you, Director Westmoreland. That means a lot coming from the previous board chair. Any other conversation? Then I would look for someone who would be willing to nominate.
I would be happy to nominate you.
Great, thank you. And then that takes us to vice chair. This is a position currently being held by Vice Chair Ross, and it also serves as the chair for the Policy and Monitoring Committee. Is there anyone who would be willing to continue in that role?
I guess I would be willing to continue in this role.
I'd like to hear.
Yay.
Yes, I would be happy to continue in this role and open it up to any other feedback.
Well, I am very grateful that you're willing to continue. I think you've done an excellent job. As someone who also served as vice chair, it's not always easy, and it's a lot of extra work, but I think that your temperament is well suited for it. So thank you for continuing to do that on behalf of the district.
Well, Jason has a nicer chair to work with than you did when you were vice chair, so
Right.
that's part of the difference.
It makes a difference.
Vice Chair Ross, as a member of the Policy and Monitoring Committee, I have really appreciated your leadership. It's been very steady. You've really kept us on track with our policy review, so that normal cycle that we go through, as well as some newer and I would say trickier policies, such as the cell phone policy that we've been working on. I'm really grateful for your leadership and happy that you will continue.
I'm not familiar with the cell phone policy, but I would love for you to bring me up to speed.
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Is there anyone else who'd like to join the conversation? Any other interest? Great. Well, thank you for your willingness to continue to serve, Director Ross. That takes us to the position of treasurer. Rachel Hartland has been serving as treasurer, and wondering if there's anyone who would like to throw their hat in the ring for this position.
Andreessen?
Yes.
I am willing to continue in that spot if the board thinks that is appropriate. It does feel like I've only just recently really gotten my feet under me doing it, so I think that I would be ready to take that on for this coming year.
Yeah, thank you for that, Treasurer Hartland. I appreciate your reports a lot, and I think that you've really taken this on and are giving really good information to the community. So I appreciate that. Anyone else?
Treasurer Hartland, I think you bring such a unique perspective because you serve on the LAC. Obviously, you're a parent who's in our schools and really in touch with what's going on a daily basis. And now all of your background, having been treasurer for the past year, you bring that intersection to your treasurer's reports really beautifully. And so I am excited that you're continuing. I'm just in a great mood tonight.
You are.
We just got great leadership.
I know.
Chair Andreessen, I would
Yes.
say, I just got here, but I would like to agree with all of Director Westmoreland's sentiments about you and Jason and Rachel remaining in your roles. I think you all do a wonderful job, and I love working with you all and learning from you, and so I will agree that you all are the best fit for that as of right now, so.
Thank you, Director Roper. Who would like to nominate Treasurer Hartland?
I would like to.
Great, thank you, Z. Any other comments? Then we move on to the position of clerk. Kai Thompson is currently serving in that role. And wondering if there's anyone interested in that position.
Chair Andreessen,
Yes.
I'm willing to continue on with it if the board, unless anybody else has interest in it.
Is there any other interest from anyone on the board? Any comments? Input? I think that I've appreciated your willingness to do it. Sometimes clerk can be a thankless job. But keeping the minutes and doing those roll call votes are an important part of the process. So thank you for continuing to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
And who would like to nominate?
I can. Chair Andreessen.
Thank you. All right, now we get to the really fun part. Committees. So these we have different types of committees. And the ones that our student board reps get to be a part of are our school board committees. So the first couple you won't get to weigh in on quite yet. But the first one is our out-of-district committees, and there are two of them. The first is the Association of Metropolitan School Districts, AMSD. Currently, we get two assignments for this committee. The first person on there is Jason Ross, and the second is Rachel Hartland. I don't know if both of you would like to just give a mini report on your year of service, what that would be like, or Vice Chair Ross, you could do it, just if either one of you want to talk about it.
Yeah, so AMSD, obviously, don't let the time make you nervous, is really 7:30 to 9 in the morning. We meet first Friday of every month. It is, what can I say? It's a labor of love because there's so many different superintendents, different board members that are across the metro, and then everybody's meeting together with one purpose, is how to ensure that student voice is being centered and we're getting update information from obviously our peers at AMSD, who has their own little legislative platform, and they're connecting with other state representatives who attend these meetings periodically, and we just actually had a meeting this past Friday, and I did see one of my board peers. I'm not going to name her name. She knows who she is. Starts with a B, ends with a R. So she was in attendance of the meeting, and I would be happy not attending this meeting if, obviously, Brooke wants to be a lot more, involved. Again, I've saw her already, so I'm pretty sure she'd be a great asset.
Okay.
Director Roper, is that a position you'd be interested in?
If I'm being completely honest, I did not hear what Jason said about which committee. you're
It's
talking
the
about.
Association of Metropolitan School Districts, AMSD.
Oh, okay. Are those the committees that are in person? Or
I
are
think
they-
you can join virtually, correct?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's in person, but you can join virtually. So there's breakfast that's served
Yeah.
if you do. It's kind of a hike to get to Little Canada, but
But it
But
is a
you-
free breakfast. Steve Adams would rave about the breakfasts.
I would not.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what does it consist of?
Not that I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is
sorry.
it continental or is it?
more continental.
Forgot to try to sell this.
I'm giving Brooke a hard time. Don't feel no pressure.
do I have time to think about that committee? I just want to just be mindful of the drive to Little Canada.
We're doing it tonight.
Can I come back to that committee?
An
You can come
alternate.
back. You
Okay.
could be the alternate.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you, Jason, for thinking of me for that because I was actually thinking of that committee. So
Oh, great. Rachel, would you be willing to continue in your role? Kind of pairs well with LAC.
It does pair well with the LAC. I haven't been able to make every single one of those past year. I have been at most of them and exclusively virtually because of that drive. If that, was I the alternate? I would probably attend the same amount as an LAC member regardless. So however that shakes out, I don't want to push anybody off of Jason. I don't want to push anybody off of AMSD if you're excited about it, but I would,
I could, sorry, finish the thought.
I was just going to say that as an LAC member, I'm often there and will continue to often be there.
Yes, I'm more than grateful, happy to stay on.
You'd like to stay on?
Yeah, then you
Yeah.
should do that. That sounds
Okay.
good.
So Jason
be
and
the alternate.
Brooke, did you want to be the alternate?
Yes.
And Rachel will be attending.
yeah,
I can be the
often,
alternate.
often anyway. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, Jason, Rachel, we got this.
Yeah.
The next committee is Intermediate District 287. I am currently the representative and Director Westmoreland is the alternate. So intermediate districts are, we are a member of Intermediate District 287. It is intermediate district that serves our students in ways that we are not equipped to do so in district. So they provide Northern Star Online, which a lot of our students access. And they are also, they also serve West Suburban Summer School, which is an enrichment programming, and then also do other things like special education setting for. And so each member district has a board member who serves from their home district school board. And so I've done that for the last 2 terms. The assignment is for 2 years. My assignment is up, and I would like to continue serving in that role. The new superintendent is just getting her feet wet, and I am helping serve on their policy committee to get things up to speed. So if the board feels comfortable with that, I would like to continue in that role. And I also think it would be a really good idea if there was an alternate who took a more active role so that I can roll off after 2 years and then that person could come on. Would anyone be interested in that?
Well, are you going to see him? Okay. I'll do it.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. And then our next is more of a annual meeting, is the Minnesota State High School League. This is, the assignment is Clerk Thompson. Can you give us an update on that? I know this has been a tricky one in the past. Has there been any movement?
No. I would say over the past year, like I got an email
Oh, you did?
and I read the email. And
That's progress, actually.
That's good, okay. But that's been about it, so I'm fine continuing on with it. The topic interests me, and if it becomes something more, that could be fun, so we'll see.
I know that this was a conversation actually at the delegate assembly about how the State High School League does not communicate with any of us. So if that's something that you would feel comfortable kind of advocating around, that they actually start communicating with our members, because we do kind of, like, it was a big conversation. Yeah. So we could pass that
They do send out a
along.
monthly newsletter that I could forward either to Clerk Thompson or the whole board. I think I assumed he was receiving it. So if not, then they send out a monthly newsletter. And then I'm texting Jared. I could find out if there's a particular meeting during the year where the school board rep of the member organizations attend. I'm not quite sure if there
Yeah.
is, but.
I mean, they're supposed to
could-
be there, and they make a lot of decisions without any input from
Well, there, yeah,
from boards that are members.
school boards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be great.
okay.
So if you're willing to do that, Kai, that would be great, because we would love to have a more active and engaged say in what's happening. Okay. All right, now the exciting part, in-district committees. So this is where student board reps can volunteer to be on these committees. So the first one is the city's board steering committee. Currently, it meets 2 to 3 times a year over lunch, so perhaps over your lunch. And currently, Kai Thompson, Brooke Roper, and Rachel Hartland is the alternate. Who would like to give an update on that?
To be honest, Chair Andreessen, I haven't attended one of these meetings. I haven't really received any communication. I think there have been attempts to, like organize a meeting, but like as far as actually attending one, I haven't. So I'm not sure if this committee is still active or are they meeting actively? Have you or?
Yeah, I mean, we had that one meeting, right? It just seems like it's challenging for representatives from the city, given their calendars, to be able to have it. So I feel like, 2 to 3 times a year seems ambitious. Like if we could get it once or twice, I feel like that might be more
1 to 2?
palatable to them.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. I think we should schedule at least 3 and just hope that a lot of people can make at least 1 or 2. Yeah. And I wouldn't even ask them when, I would just like schedule it during lunch 3 times a year, and then we just heavily promote, yeah.
And so the purpose is to pursue partnerships and to strengthen communications between the cities that Hopkins School District is in and the district in ways in which we can address issues that are affecting our wider community. Correct?
And also, what they've shared, the city managers and the mayors, is they also like to hear from each other. Because they don't get together on a regular basis, so they, you know, they will all share their housing development updates or their hiring and staffing updates, and it's interesting for them to hear from each other as well as hearing from the district.
Great. I do think too, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that despite having only met once in like, I don't even remember if it was like June or August, it was kind of over the summer, but it did lead to kind of an important discussion around when in district buildings we're going to begin accepting new residents, and shaped a little bit at least of our registration processes and timelines. So even though it's difficult, it still is important. I have enjoyed those meetings. I've been on it. I was an alternate, but still attended a past meeting and this year, and would like to stay on it.
Okay, so Rachel.
But I would be happy to be an alternative, or to continue as the alternative if you two are. Or another person's very excited about that committee.
Anyone else?
I can stay on the committee if we're, yeah, I can stay on the committee.
Is there an alternate, or we might be good with 2? Yeah, 2 members. We don't need an alternate. And what about our board reps? Is there anyone who has a burning desire to do the connections between school districts and city leadership?
Where does it meet? Is it in high school or?
I
It
don't-
was here at Eisenhower.
Here that Would it be more convenient for them at the high school?
It's been at the high school in the past, too.
Yeah,
We've met
either.
there. We could, I think, especially if there was interest. I think there'd be no reason why we couldn't meet at the high school.
And so how many, I just have like a couple questions. How many people typically attend these types of meetings? Or like how many like city officials or like different schools attend?
It's 7 municipalities, so 7 cities.
Okay.
With, like, if they all came, it would be 2 reps per city, the mayor and the city manager. And then there's a couple of our board members, myself, and then a couple cabinet members.
Okay. Okay, I think I might be interested.
It's really interesting. And they always have opportunities that they want to promote for youth involvement. Like, they have boards, and their Parks and Recs programs have
Yeah.
boards, and they're always looking for youth
Is
involvement.
the
and
city of
youth voice.
Minneapolis involved by chance?
No.
Oh, okay. I work for them, so that's
You just have to make do with Minnetonka and Hopkins.
that's all right.
Great, thank you for volunteering for that.
Chair Andreessen,
Yes.
are you, we had kind of had this discussion among school board reps, like, I said 1 to 2 student board reps, and that if there was any like extreme interest in one, that depending on the committee and the willingness of those committee participants, that we could discuss how many people. Are you thinking that only one person can? And especially I'm thinking with you as a senior,
Yeah.
that we might benefit from having a second person
Yeah.
who who can continue that on.
I think more than one is perfectly fine, especially given people's lives and schedules.
Sure.
Did anyone who isn't currently here express an interest in this committee?
Not to me.
Anyone who is currently here have an interest?
I might, depending on how often they meet,
Like 2 to 3 times a year, right?
right? Okay. I would be happy to serve on that.
Great, thank you, Iris. Okay, that takes us to Schools and Communities in Partnership and the Community Education Advisory Committee. Director Roper and Director Zhao currently serve on it, and Director Westmoreland is the alternate. Anyone want to give a quick update? Also, knowing that our student board reps can be on it too.
Yeah, so this is actually in person, not virtual, over at the high school. Basically, a bunch of community NGOs, right, non-government organizations, charities, and the Hennepin County, things like that, meet and have discussions about, projects that they're working on, as well as allocating focus and resources and things like that. I think it's about 4 times a year. I think it's 4, yeah. So it's been good. I'd like to stay on it if possible.
Great.
I've attended a skip meeting, but not on behalf of the board. I've been into them, so I do find that they're very valuable. However, I find it just a little difficult for me to attend because they don't offer any virtual, and I've requested to see if they maybe could do virtual. So I'm happy to stay on, but only contingent if they can offer virtual meetings. So I'm not sure if that's like if we have to get like approval first.
Well, it's interesting because right here it says currently most of the meetings are virtual. That is not the case.
No.
No, they're all in person, right?
At
Yeah.
at the high school.
I mean, director.
Yeah, it's in the cafeteria. I think, well, I'm pretty sure that it could be virtual, but
Yeah.
there's no reason I know of why it couldn't be, but,
Lindsay runs those, right?
yep.
And some of our board reps often attend the skip meetings as well. We're on the Google Calendar email list.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that.
So,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
is the skip committee, is it different from the collaborative?
So was it virtual? Like were any of them
No, I
virtual?
don't
They were
think
all in
but I
person.
mean,
Okay.
they have slideshows and things. I feel like it could have been virtual.
That could be. I mean, it's a round table. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a round table, so maybe it's difficult to. Well, not a round, but like there's a lot of people and there's a lot of seating, so it may be a little difficult to do. People have to like go in front of a laptop or something. It'd be a little weird, but
Or the owl. I'll ask.
Do we think that that's something we can do?
I think
Okay.
so.
So should I put you down?
Yeah, you can keep me down.
And would you like to continue as the alternate? Jen?
I'm happy to, and if there's somebody else who would like to, I'm happy to give that opportunity to someone else.
Any other interest? Looks like it's you.
Great.
And who amongst our board reps would like to be on this committee?
Or
Are we already on there?
You are?
I think so.
I think you show up.
All of us, for the past few years, have been getting the emails, and all of us have been showing up. So I think essentially it's kind of like the LAC, where we're all automatically on it or something.
Do you find them useful though?
Yeah,
You do?
I think so. Yeah.
Good.
I love that.
That's
I'm so
great.
glad you do that. Okay, so that takes us to Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. Our current representatives on that are Rachel Hartland and Jiming Zhao. Who would like to give an update and really sell it?
I guess I will give an update. That committee is very interesting. It comprises of community representatives with financial backgrounds. I noticed our description on this page says no more than 5 community members, and I don't know that that is still accurate. That might be outdated information. That group meets often in person, there is a virtual option. And we talk about specific elements of the budget. The CFAC does not go through line items of the budget, but instead talks about a variety of factors that impact our budget and impact the balances of our funds. And we talk about ways that any fund balances we have might be leveraged to either increase revenue or protect our revenues, and set out some overarching principles that the board, the admin, should consider when continuing the budgeting process. And we started meeting a little bit earlier this year, in response to just wanting to have a better handle on the budget, especially going into a potential deficit. And we might be done meeting as of tomorrow. We typically meet through January. I think the treasurer typically is on that.
The treasurer automatically serves on CFAC, and so we would look for someone else to join from the board. Director Zhao, are you still interested in remaining?
Yeah, I can be.
Okay, great. And then who amongst our board reps would like to?
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
This is a piece that I fell down on, specifically talking with possibly Rhoda and also Luke about potentially sensitive information that are inside those meetings, and if this was a place where where students could join. And I did specifically ask if there was any like future finance people who are interested in this. I didn't receive that feedback. If it's your opinion that that's completely fine, then I'm happy to go with that right now. I was going to double check before I offered that one up specifically, and did not do that prior to this.
I think it's a good idea, especially when we think about, like, our students have great insights. I think about, like, how they might separate essential services and supports from maybe non-essential, and just to help us think differently. And also when it comes to talking about and promoting the budget with a variety of stakeholders, they have good ideas about that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Could ask Churro.
I know that when we were at our conference, I think it was, and sorry if I say that name wrong, but Sufyan Osman, he indicated interest in it. Because I remember I said, most students aren't interested, and he was like, I'd be interested in that. So that might be worth a reach out.
Definitely to do 2 larger group reach outs. I would be happy to do a specific one, touch point on that, to make sure that if we have that interest that we capture it.
And are there any of our board members here tonight that would be interested in serving on CFAC? No one has a burning interest to dive deep into budgets?
As an alternate, I would do it, but I would not want to take the place of Rachel or Director Zhao. Director Hartline or Director Zhao would not take the place, but I could put myself down as an alternate.
Great. Okay, that takes us to Educational Services Advisory Committee. And if you do, student board reps, change your mind or think about it more and want to serve, you can always reach out to the chair of these committees and or to the student board rep person and join. So now that takes us to the Educational Services Advisory Committee. We have 1 member and an alternate. Currently, Director Thompson and Director Roper are serving. Director Thompson, do you want to give an update?
Sure, and so this one has been in person as well. Pretty good summary there, providing advice, guidance, support to the district regarding the design, implementation, evaluation of the Hopkins Learning Framework. So we've talked on that committee a lot about new plans with literacy that the district has been implementing, and then talked a bit about traits of the Hopkins Scholar. I think we're going to be talking more about literacy coming up, and then start talking about math a bit as well. The timing on here seems incorrect. It's more like 5:30 to 7 be the time of day that it meets. And yeah, I'm happy to continue serving.
Great. Anyone else want to be the alternate?
I'm happy to continue to serve on that board as well. Can I ask just a quick clarifying question? You may have already clarified this. I think Clerk Thompson asked this, but is there a difference of the colors on the committees? Like, is there any significance?
No, I think it's just to differentiate the different types.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What about our student board reps? This would be a really important one to get your input on, since it's what you're learning in the classroom. No?
And it doesn't meet that often, like, four times in a calendar year, probably.
I can do it.
It would really be cool to have some student voice there, for sure.
Yeah, we have one coming up actually on Thursday from 5:30 to 7, I believe.
We can take more than one. I'm looking at you, Mel. All right, just think about it.
I'll think about it.
Okay. And then we have the Special Education Advisory Committee, SEAC, one member plus an alternate. This is where we meet parents mostly who talk about the special needs, special services in the district. Membership includes parents of children with special needs from each school, early childhood and transition plus. One of the things that I appreciated about prior iterations of SEAC was that we did have student representation from this community, which I thought was really impactful. It does not meet bi-monthly. I actually do not know the last time this committee met, and I think that's something that needs to be rectified. So I'm happy to continue serving as the rep unless someone else would like to do so. It's a really important part of our district and the services we provide.
I think this connects really well to the work that you do on the District 287 board. So I think it would make sense for you to stay on, and I'm happy to continue to serve as the alternate unless somebody else would like that opportunity.
Do we have any of our student board reps that would like to serve on this committee? Let me know if you change your mind or you know of a fellow student in the community who you think would be a great representative. That would be good too. So now we go to the monitoring committee. The vice chair serves as the chair. That is Vice Chair Ross. So I'll let you just give a quick update about the monitoring committee, and also on there are Director Westmoreland and Brooke Roper.
So this is a very boring committee to be a part of. You talk about policies that impact not only the school, but could potentially impact you as a student. I would not encourage any student. I'm joking. Yes, definitely. We want to get any students, all students. Manuel, give me a hard time. Yeah. So any of you students, any of you students that are still interested in serving, more than welcome. We definitely need student voice. We have something called a cell phone policy that we definitely need your eyes on this policy and your guidance on it as well, because obviously it's going to greatly impact not just ourselves, but you as well. We look at multiple policies annual. We do an annual review, and it could be anything from code of conduct to obviously the cell phone policy and any other policies have to like impact the budget. So it's a great group of board members you'll be working with, and we'll be looking forward to definitely getting as many students as possible. I'm not sure how many students we could have on the committee, but
As many as you can handle.
yeah, so if you do have any interest, please share your thoughts. Again, we cannot do this without student voice, and I would more than love to have as many of you talented scholars joining.
Yeah, I would be interested in joining.
Great.
I would also be interested.
Praise. Okay.
How often does that meet again? Sorry.
First, let's get the board members, and then I just want to make sure that we have Vice Chair Ross, and then Director Westmoreland and Director Roper. Do you want to continue? Are you able and willing to continue serving?
Yeah, I can stay on.
Yes, I would very much like to stay on.
Okay,
monitoring.
any other interest? Okay, great. Now, student board reps, we've got Manuel. And I'm sorry, I don't know, you had a question. Praise, you said yes? Okay. And I'll let you answer the question about how often we meet.
Oh, and I'd like to continue too.
Okay.
We're so
For monitoring
popular.
For monitoring committee?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm currently on it, and as much as I love it, I am getting really, really busy, and I don't think I can continue. But like pretty much every other student board rep is not going to be on it, so I think it'll be okay.
You definitely hurt our feelings. It's so sad over here.
We meet bi-weekly, so every other Thursday. And it would be, let's see, between now and June, I would say May. It will probably end around May timeframe.
I don't think I can be, but I do know a lot of people I think would be interested, so I will let them know.
Okay, we'll keep you as an alternate.
what time of the day?
I'm sorry, what was it?
What time of the day do you meet?
Typically, the meetings are 4:30 to 5:30, but we could, we're flexible with the schedule depending on what you have going on.
And there's other ways historically that students can be involved. I know that we had, one of our students was really good about sending out targeted surveys around policies that students could fill out to help shape policies. So that could be a role. If you can't come to the meetings, you could take on that piece of gathering student feedback around policies to make sure that everyone's voices are represented in those.
Yeah, I'm totally willing to help out. If you send me an email, I will absolutely respond.
Awesome. Yeah, they are.
I would be happy to take on that specific role as well if that is needed or wanted. I just don't really have the time for like meetings consistently, but I would love to be involved in that if possible.
Especially if it's consistently Thursday nights. Two sports.
I think it's right after school, right? Still?
Yes, usually is always been like kind of a 4:30 start and then done by 5:30 at the very latest. It's ended sometimes before.
I play rugby.
Oh, wow.
Nice. And it is also, if you just stay in touch with Vice Chair Ross, you can always kind of roll on and roll off as time allows. Thank you all. Next is the Board Audit Committee. That's 3 members. Treasurer Hartland, I'll let you give a quick update on it.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Andreessen. This committee is currently slightly stalled as we work with the Minnesota Department of Education to finalize our audit. It doesn't meet very often. It is only for a very specific time of the year to review the audit and get to ask any questions before the audit gets published to our website and we talk about it at the board table. I think it is only a couple of meetings per year maximum. We are still looking to get those in the next month or so, and I think this is another one that the treasurer, I don't know if has to is the right phrasing, but at least typically on.
Right.
And so would be fine with staying on it.
And then the other 2 board members are Director Zhao and Vice Chair Ross. Are you willing to continue serving?
Yes, I'd like to see the darn report.
Ditto.
I think we all would. All right. Any board members, student board reps, just chomping, yeah, okay. That takes us to the Legislative Action Coalition, commonly known as the LAC, which we are having our legislative breakfast on Friday. Current members of that are myself, co-chair, Treasurer Hartland, and Director Roper. I definitely want to stay on this because it has a special place in my heart. So I'm going to put my name down.
Chair Andreessen, I would also like to stay on it. It takes a long time to be kind of up to speed on that committee, and it does a lot of heavy lifts for our district, and would also like to stay.
I'll also stay on it.
Great.
Well, so.
And this, just so you all know, the Hopkins LAC is known statewide. It's, I think, one of the longest serving legislative action coalitions in the state. And we hear from board colleagues everywhere asking, how do we do it? And I think that we have had some student board reps who have gone on to do amazing things. I won't say because of the LAC, but definitely as part of their work with the LAC. One of our student board reps got legislation written and sponsored and passed. And I personally think it's a fun committee to serve on. So with that, would anyone like to be on the LAC for the next year?
We're already on it, so we don't have to say.
You like to keep going?
Yes.
Great. And we're going to see you on
All of us?
Friday.
Right.
You're all on it?
Yes.
Do we all have to say it individually?
No.
Oh, okay.
Do you all want to still be on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all automatically
Everyone
on
on
it.
the, yeah, if possible.
Great. And then visioning and strategic planning. Currently, that is Director, and I'm going quickly because we have 5 minutes. Currently, that is Director Hartland, Thompson, and Westmoreland. Directors.
We have not met this year. There hasn't really been the need. I would be happy to stay on it in case there is a need this year.
That would be good because you have historical.
Sure, to keep it
Yes.
moving, I'm fine, yeah.
Me as well.
Great. Any of our student board reps want to be on this? No. And then, who would like to Our student board reps is kind of their board mentor, is currently Rachel Hartland, and the alternate is Director Zhao. Who would like to do that for the coming year?
I would be very interested. It was one of the first roles I had as a new board member, and it would be really wonderful to return to that role this year, if that would be okay with you, Directors Hartland and Zhao.
Yeah, Chair Andreessen, I think that I have had a wonderful experience. Our student board reps are just fantastic, and yet another program that we are known throughout Minnesota for. And I also am on a lot of committees and get to stay involved with them through the Legislative Action Coalition. And so that works well for me, assuming Director Zhao that you.
Yeah, I could stay as an alternate if needed.
Okay, great. And then that Human Resources Board, that's kind of as needed if something comes up. Currently, Director Westmoreland, myself, and Vice Chair Ross are serving on the committee. Any proposed changes to that?
Nope, happy to continue.
Great.
Same.
And then that takes us to Safety and Security. It meets annually. I think that was going to change, though, correct?
Yeah,
We had discussions about that at the board table.
Quarterly.
yeah, it's cool.
Great. So I will make that update. Directors Roper and Zhao, would you like to continue?
Yeah, I'll stay on.
Any proposed changes? Great, we did it. 2 minutes to spare. Thank you all. I'm sorry we didn't get to our second agenda item, which is topics for workshops. Hopefully, if you prepared some, I do know that we did have a request for budget things, which we always do for workshops during our budgeting time, so that will be part of our agendas going forward. Certainly until we pass our budget, hopefully after the state passes theirs. But if you have any other topics that you want us to discuss at a board workshop or that you're wondering about or have questions about, please email those to me and we'll be sure to get them on our working document for board workshops. And we have 1 minute in order to take a quick break. Thank you all for your time. We could have our student board.
I know.
Happiness is off the charts.
Yeah.
Not on the agenda.
Fun is not on the agenda.
Away from the left, from the decorum for just a moment. Please.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here at our first board meeting of the year 2025. We are excited to be back at it, and I hope everyone had a really good restorative break. So we will just get started. Earlier, we had a workshop in which we discussed upcoming business that is on the agenda for tonight. We will go ahead and get started with the first part of our agenda, which is our public comment section. We believe that hearing from our community members is crucial for implementing Vision 2031. There are several ways to make public comment and also to contact the school board. If you do not want to make a public comment, you can still contact us via email. But if you do want to make a public comment, there are two ways to do so. You can show up here to our board meeting in person, fill out a public comment card, locate it at the back of the room, and hand it to the board chair before the meeting begins. And then you can also leave a voicemail where you can record a public comment. If you do so before 4:00 p.m. on the day of the school board meeting, it will be played during this time period. The Hopkins School Board hosts two public comment sections, one at the beginning of the meeting, priority being given to those items which are on the agenda. If there is more time needed for addressing the board publicly, that happens at the end of our meeting, another half hour. Do we have any public comments for this evening for in person? So just the voicemail. So we have one voicemail that we received. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that when you do leave a voicemail, we do review those to make sure that they meet all of our guidelines for making public comment, which is posted. But one of the things that I want to be sure to remind our community of is that we cannot name employees publicly during public comment. So we ask that all speakers refrain from that. And I won't read the rest of the guidelines since there's no one here to hear them. So if you could play that, Natalia, I would appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Shakori McBride. I am calling on the topic of transportation to after-school programs. Since the year has started, the after-school program for my son going to the YMCA Ridgedale location has been cut since this school year has started, and it was cut without any kind of notice or anything before school started or once school did start. Since then, I've actually lost my job due to the fact that I am unable to work a complete 8-hour shift because there is no transportation that goes directly to the after-school program after school. So this has become a big issue in households, and I honestly would like to know what we are going to be able to do to fix that, or if there's something, a plan in process that's going to fix this, or just something to help us with that, because it's hard to maintain a good job that pays good when you're not able to work a complete 8-hour shift 5 days throughout the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. And just to remind our public and people who are viewing this, we do not, the board does not respond to public comment here at the board table, but a member of the district will be getting in touch with you. We also do not do any direct action relating to public comment unless it has been, is prior on the agenda before the public comment being made. So thank you for that. Now we get to go to our really fun part of the agenda, which is our student board rep report. Who would like to go first? Iris.
Hi, I'm Iris. I'm a freshman board rep. The first thing that I would like to report is that last week we had a talent show at the high school. It was over Tuesday and Wednesday during Rose Connect or advisory periods. It was super duper fun and included students and staffs singing, breakdancing, gymnastics, poetry reading, and a fun jazz band. Also, Literacy Night is coming up. Literacy Night is an event that invites families and caregivers to this interactive session explaining Hopkins' literacy plan, challenges in reading and writing, and how to support your students. There will be a few of these. The first one will take place January 16th, then there's one on February 20th, March 20th, and April 17th. Finally, we have the second ever alumni shout out. Today's alumni shout out is Jeffrey Vang, who recently released a song on Spotify called She's Got Me. It blends pop, soul, and K-pop. And it's inspired, well, all of his music is inspired by Bruno Mars, Charlie Puth, Ed Sheeran, and a variety of K-pop artists.
Hi, I'm Manuel, a sophomore board rep. So on Sunday, January 26th from 5 to 6:30 p.m., the Hopkins Ultimate Community Night is taking place at the North Junior High structure. All interested students can go to learn about the sport, the team, connect with current players and families, and enjoy pizza. Hopkins Ultimate Frisbee is open to all middle and high school students. Hopkins will be taking the ACT on Tuesday, April 15th at the high school. And there's also a practice ACT this Thursday, January 16th, which is also a digital learning day for the high school. Anyone choosing to take the practice ACT will not be responsible for attending online classes or turning in assignments that day. For the practice test, the high school is using a new online ACT test prep platform called Windward Academy. On Tuesday, January 21st at 5:30 to 7 p.m., there will be a Canvas information night here at the Eisenhower Community Center. At this informational meeting, parents or caregivers can get support in setting up their Canvas parent account, pairing it with their Scholars account, and also get any Canvas-related questions answered. Through the Canvas parent account, parents and caregivers can easily reach out to teachers for questions and concerns, as well as stay updated about their Scholars grades and assignments. Finally, this Friday, January 17th, the annual LAC Legislative Action Coalition Breakfast is taking place. This event is hosted for board members, educators, and legislators, and is designed for legislators to understand the issues that affect Hopkins schools. The breakfast served will be prepared by culinary students from the high school. Student board reps will give a short introduction of themselves, and our senior reps, Mia and Praise, will be giving a speech. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eloise Bullen. It's my first year as a sophomore rep. First is registration on February 5th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the Hopkins High School auditorium. There will be a registration night for the high school. It will act like an open house. It will provide additional information and answer questions that students may have about classes next year. Students and families are encouraged to go. Students will begin reviewing the registration materials on the 28th of January and then can begin requesting courses and making class selections on January 29th. Registration will close on February 27th, February 7th for the middle school and then the 14th for the high school. MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, is coming up next Monday and will coincide with Inauguration Day this year. We can acknowledge that there may be questions regarding the repercussions of Inauguration Day and have an email set in place hoping to discuss the most common questions and concerns. Lastly, Principal Ballard will hold the Hopkins High School State School Address, and it is soon approaching.
Hi, I'm Praise. I'm a senior rep. This is my second year on the board, and I'm happy to be here. Okay. For the student board program, we will be inviting juniors, finally, to join us. This has been a very, very long process, and we're excited to have some new reps who you guys will hopefully meet at our next meeting. Earlier during the workshop, we talked committees. Well, the HHS Senior Party Planning Committee is continuing to raise money for the 2025 Senior Class Party. Last year, the class of 2024 had so many fun and engaging activities, and they hope to go even further this year. The application season has come to a close for most students. Many seniors, however, are now focused on how they're going to pay for college. That includes me. So HHS does a really good job of this through the local scholarship application for seniors that is opening very soon. Last year, $40,000 was granted to seniors, with one of our most recent alumni student board reps receiving multiple. So, additionally, the Minnetonka Glen Lake Optimists are launching both an essay and public speaking contest for seniors this year with the topic of how optimism has paved my road to success, and students that compete in that are able to receive a scholarship. And then, finally, the HHS for Choice will be hosting a donation drive for Sojourner Shelter over the next 3 weeks. The Sojourner Shelter is an emergency housing facility for women and children who are unsafe in their homes, and they are often in need of basic necessities. Items that they are in need of currently include toiletries, paper products like plates and cups, baby items such as diaper, wipes, etc., cleaning supplies, gently used women's and children's clothing, gently used linens such as towels, washcloths, bedding, etc., and gently used toys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mia Osman, and I'm a senior board rep. So first off, Culture Night is coming up on Monday, January 27th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the high school. It will have a fashion show, a dance, and a potluck. For ticket information, entry is free, but it requires a ticket, which students can pick up at lunch starting tomorrow. Participants may bring up to 5 guests, but all guests must be registered in advance, and a ticket must be secured for them. And if you have no ticket, then you will not be allowed in. This is a really nice opportunity for many people to showcase their culture, and it will be an exciting event to unite everyone. Also, the culinary classroom was alive the other day, or last week, as students showcased their skills by crafting personalized treats for their clients, aka high school staff members. This project began in December when each group interviewed a staff member to learn about their unique taste and preferences. Students put their creative work together and resulted in a variety of innovative foods, such as a burger. Staff members joined to taste the customized burger and offer feedback. This was a great hands-on experience for many students, and also gave them insight on how to tailor to dishes to people's personal preferences. And then finally, coming up is a special education advisory committee meeting. The purpose for this is for caregivers of students with disabilities to connect, learn, and more about the special education department. There's 2 meetings, one on Tuesday, January 21st from 5 to 6:30 at Eisenhower, and then the second one is Tuesday, March 18th from 5 to 6:30, also located in the same place. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Is a very comprehensive update. I learned some things that I should have learned from my own high schooler. So thank you for that.
Ditto.
Any other comments or questions from my board colleagues?
I just have a quick question. You mentioned the end of college application season. Does anyone know if FAFSA is going well?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. For the college application season isn't necessarily like standardized. There's no like beginning or end date really, but many early applications or regular decision applications have come to a close. And so when it comes to like paying for college, the FAFSA this year has been, last year it was all over the place. So this year hopefully we're crossing our fingers it'll be better. But it opened earlier than the anticipated date, which I guess is a trend that is better than last year when it opened a lot later than it was anticipated. So many students jumped right on that as soon as they could because it's not necessarily a first come first serve basis, but you're supposed to do it as early as possible. And so many schools have like deadlines for filling out the FAFSA that are similar to the deadlines for like submitting your application. And so, yeah, does that answer your question?
Smoother.
Okay.
Smoother than last year.
Yeah, so it's been better than last year.
Oh, good.
That's good.
Yes. What else can I say? Yeah, the FAFSA, like you can continue applying for the FAFSA up until like the summer. There's no really deadline until I guess next year. They have that listed on their website. But yes.
We must have lots of people listening, so a staff member just texted. She has a daughter at the high school. FAFSA went very well this year. Many financial aid offers are already out. And this is about 4 to 6 weeks following submission. So like you said, it came out earlier than anticipated, so that's great. Got to know how we're paying for college.
Yep.
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
Hi. I have a question for praise as well. Sorry.
Okay.
We're not,
I love questions.
but around college affordability.
Yeah.
And not necessarily you, but with peers or just how your experience. How's the rollout of the North Star Promise that paying for Minnesota colleges to people who qualify? How has the experience been? Is it too restrictive? Has it been good, bad?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that because I guess I'll talk about like my specific perspective, and then I can also talk about like my peers as well. But from my perspective, my family is right on the cusp of it. And so schools like Gustavus Adolphus, for example, they have the North Star Promise embedded into their, like the scholarships that they have. And so I guess they call it the Gusty Guarantee. And so it's the similar eligibility requirements for the North Star Promise. They just do their own title on there. And then, yeah, that students have been receiving like institutional scholarships from the colleges that they applied to along with their acceptance letters. And so many students who applied to like local Minnesota colleges have been receiving the North Star Promise Scholarship along with that package or that letter of, hey, you're accepted into this college. And so I've been hearing good things about it. I think it'll definitely help a lot of students. I think the only downside is that there can always be a change in income. And so that $80,000 limit that they have currently on it could make one student eligible for 1 year and then not eligible the next year, which could have some pretty big impacts, of course. But yeah, I've been hearing really good things.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
Eloise, you mentioned registration, and I was wondering how that is communicated and what that process looks like for you all as students getting ready for next year.
Generally, it's given to us during Royals Connect. So we would have Royals Connect twice a week. The first one, they'll tell us, hey, they'll show us a video on exactly how to do it, how many like credits you need. They'll give us like a form, and it says you need a language. You need these required classes, and then you have an additional space for your electives. You put in your electives, you put in the ones that are like alternates in case you don't get into those ones. And then you essentially, for me, you can choose, I chose to do additional math classes, and you can just put that in with your electives. They do really make it simple for you. And then in Infinite Campus, you just have to plug all those in. And once you hit the threshold of how many, it will tell you at the top, and it'll tell you exactly you've hit your threshold. That's how many classes you need for the year. You're set to go. And then in the summer, it'll just pop out your schedule.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any Thing? Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate that you were able to join us for this first meeting, and that it seems to be that coming back from break and starting off the year is good. You all sound very busy, so thank you. And you, of course, are welcome to stay. We'd love to have you for the rest of the meeting. And that takes us to our superintendent's report. Dr. Mary Perry Reed.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. And as always, it's great to hear from our high school students. I feel like they take over some of my high school updates, so that's good. Well, we're going to start on the elementary end here. So before the break, there was a lot of activity at our elementary schools. I would like to thank the organizers of the Eisenhower Imagination Fair. And because every student at our very large Eisenhower Elementary School here, nearly 800 students, because every student is invited by the PTO to create something they would like to share, there are tons and tons of projects. The Imagination Fair actually takes up the whole double gymnasium, displaying student artwork, science projects, creations, robots, interactive presentations, and more. Some displays actually require electricity or a very, very large space. Some displays are edible, and it's really up to the student's imagination. Projects are created outside of school, but then every class has an opportunity to tour the Imagination Fair during the school day, and then in the evening, families come and enjoy the experience. And this year, there were nearly 200 individual and group projects. Also, our downtown Hopkins Cream and Amber Bookstore hosted a book fair on the stage in the gymnasium during Imagination Fair, and they promote books not just in English, but also in Spanish, Chinese, and Somali, which Scholastic does not do. So families really love those language options. And so I want to thank Cream and Amber for being at the fair, and thank you to our Eisenhower PTO for everything they did to work with staff to organize that amazing event. Also, at another elementary school, Tanglin, wanting to keep motivation and spirits high before the winter break, Tanglin built their own winter wonderland. And this involved every student contributing to a 2-week school-wide effort using science, technology, engineering, art, and math knowledge. Students became inventors and innovators as they produced their own unique snowflakes and decorations that showcased their personalities and creativity. Along the way, real-world connections involving symmetry, patterns, and coding were explored, and from start to finish, the project requires students to do everything on their own, so they orchestrate the entire event, and this requires collaboration, solving challenges, embracing teamwork, and deciding which materials to use, how to hang and power the lights and the snowflakes, all of it. So thanks very much to all of our Tanglin students and staff for creating a beautiful winter wonderland to keep spirits high before winter break. Moving up to middle school and continuing the theme of students exercising their science knowledge. These are 6th graders at West. Now, 6th graders take earth science in middle school, and they are exploring natural disasters. So recently, 6th graders were learning how the Earth's shifting plates cause earthquakes and pose unique challenges to building complex architectural structures, especially in high-risk areas. Students teamed up to build flexible foundations, counteracting forces, and shielding vibrations. Students studied the resilience of the structures by simulating their own earthquakes and were able to learn what facets of their structures were more or less resilient to the quakes and their aftershocks. And thank you to the teachers who were facilitating that experience. During the last 2 weeks of January, wanted to share with our school board members and community that officials from International Baccalaureate will spend 2 full days at each of our middle schools facilitating the IB evaluation process. The team will meet with a variety of stakeholder groups, including staff, parents, students, to discuss the implementation and development of IB programming and course experiences. This is a really collaborative process that requires a lot of planning for and engagement during, with some great feedback afterwards as we continue to grow as authorized IB World Schools. Board members, you should have a meeting on your calendar for sometime that week. And much gratitude to our IB coordinators, Angela Wilcox and Jen Poncelat, for all the work they have done to prepare for this pretty big deal visit. As our students mentioned in their reports, we did have an incredible talent show at the high school from students, and there was performance by a staff band that apparently rocked the stage. So that's pretty cool when the students can see their teachers on stage. So thank you to all the participants and, of course, students who came to do the cheering. And it does take a lot of courage, especially for students, to perform their gifts and talents for one another. So kudos to everyone who participated in that. And I think, was it Mia or Manuel? I don't know. It was you, yeah. So Mia already talked about the culinary experience where the culinary students asked a variety of staff to help them craft the ultimate burger. And so students were able to whip up sauces from scratch, and they got creative by putting cheese inside patties and even provided lettuce wrap burgers for gluten-free clients. And this was a wonderful opportunity for students not only to be creative, but also get real-world feedback so that they could iterate and problem solve. And we're looking forward to the tasty treats we'll get to have at the LAC breakfast this Friday. Treasurer Hartland, you were asking about the registration process, and thanks for providing that information. So as our students mentioned, our juniors do get to take the practice ACT this Thursday. And then I also wanted to provide just some general dates for the registration process for board members in our community. The end of January and early February is a very busy time for our secondary schools, and you can see the dates on there with registration information coming out to our high schoolers that last week of January, and then there is an information night for families on February 5, and around that time, the registration window will close for middle schoolers, which means that the 2 weeks prior, middle schoolers are receiving information on what it means for them to register for next year. So we try to coincide these activities so that our secondary counselors, families, staff, students can all be on the same page. Okay, so I wanted to end with just a couple slides on the Minnesota Student Survey. So our state administers the Minnesota Student Survey every 3 years to students in grades 5, 8, 9, and 11. And so the last time we took this survey, we had students take the survey, was 2022, and we'll do it again this spring. So sometime in February, so between February 10 and March 7, students in these 4 grades will take the Minnesota Student Survey. And this is an instrument that provides valuable insights into various aspects of students' lives, including academic experiences, social relationships, mental health, and substance use. And there are multiple state agencies that work together to write the survey, to coordinate its distribution as well as analyze the results. So not just the Minnesota Department of Education, but also the Department of Health, Department of Human Services, Public Safety, and Department of Corrections. So a lot of entities relying on the data from this survey. And if you go to the next slide, so there's a ton of data that comes out, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot of some of the things that we learned in 2022. We learned that a very high percent of student respondents agreed or strongly agreed that at their school, teachers care about students, so that's great, and we'll want to see that number even higher this time around. Now, what's not as great is that 62% of fifth graders reported they had been bullied once or more in the last 30 days, with a much lower percentage of juniors saying the same thing. So we look carefully at findings such as that to align our SEL curriculum and support services to really target where we think students will need specific support. And then we'll be looking at that data point again in the 2025 results to see if we've made progress with attention paid to students and how they treat one another. The third finding, most students were physically active 3 days a week, and most got 7+ hours of sleep per night, so that's a good thing. And another finding around substance use and abuse, that vaping was the most commonly used substance among students. Tobacco use remained low, and we'll want to look at that data point again in 2025. So just wanted to share with you the kinds of questions that are asked in the survey and how it allows us to provide targeted intervention and distribute resources to address the needs that students demonstrate in the survey.
A quick
Yes,
clarifying
yes, please.
question. So on that data, what is that data specific to Hopkins? Or is
Yes.
that, okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, so every district will get their district level data. You can compare it to state data, and you can disaggregate by grade, by school, et cetera. So when we get our new data from 2025, we can provide a much more comprehensive report to the board.
I always look forward to that report. I think it gives a great snapshot of where we're at and, like you said, ways that we can improve specifically for students.
Super illuminating. So for our program spotlight this evening, I'm going to invite Mr. Damon Johnson and Ms. Amy Gregoire to the table, and we wanted to share with you highlights from our HELP program over at Hopkins East. So Hopkins East Learning Program. I don't know if you're going to talk about how the students themselves came up with that name, but the HELP program serves 6th through 12th graders, I believe, and it's a really fabulous, smaller program, small number of students, small number of very talented, dedicated staff, and we're excited to have you here to help our board members and community understand more about HELP.
Yes, thank you all for having us here. My name's Damon Johnson. I'm the associate principal of Hopkins East and support the Hopkins East Learning Program.
And I am Amy Gregoire. I am the special education lead at Hopkins East program.
So yes, Hopkins East Learning Program was previously known as the Pavilion due to its location. It was located at the Pavilion hockey rink, I believe, right above the hockey rink. But the name came about when we switched locations to the old Boy Scouts building, which is now Hopkins East. And the scholars there, they wanted a new name because they're like, well, we're no longer at the Pavilion. Why are we even called that? So they got together and they wanted to be called the Burger Boys. And they thought our school name could be called the Burger Boys, so they printed these pictures off, and they posted them all around the place, and we were the Burger Boys. And we had to convince them that that's probably not, we really enjoyed that you guys came together and came up with that name, but then we had to help them understand, is that a name that we can market in the future? So I believe the previous staff, Jacques Joachim, John Keaveney, they got together with some students, and some board members came to our site and helped them come up with the name Hopkins East Learning Program. And they're like, help, you know, and they're like, well, why do we want to be called HELP? Is that kind of like concerning that you're just called HELP? But then they came up with the acronym that we are a learning program. And then they posted posters around with the Beatles and played the song Help Is on the Way to make them feel better. So that's how we got to where we are with the name Hopkins East Learning Program. As you can see here, right on this first slide, students tell us time and time again how they thrive in our community. And our goal is to support a really balance of social, mental, physical health, and provide the flexibility and care to make that possible for our students. So our program is designed to create and give students tools they need to learn and practice social skills while engaging in core content. So when they are returning to their home school, such as the high school or virtual EDU, if that's their choice, they're able to do that at a high level of success. So on this slide, we're just going to go over our program, our classroom setup, some SEL that we do here, student center goals, and additional supports that are provided here. So this is the 8th year of the HELP program in operation. The program opened up in 2017-18 school year, and it's currently located once again on the 3rd floor of the Hopkins East building. All of you are invited to come join us anytime that you would like. Fridays would be preferable because those are our fun days, and we like to do cooking and things of that nature. So we support students in a federal setting for special education setting, students who receive services who may have IEPs. And the grades that we support are 8 through 12. So these scholars, they do not have access to their general education peers. So they're around like peers who are all on IEPs. So students that are with us, they are housed at the middle school, so at North Middle School, West Middle School, or at the high school. And within our building, we have 3 teachers, 3 paras, an admin, and a special education lead. And within our classrooms, we're set up to have a 1-to-8 model where each classroom can house up to 8 students, and currently we have about 6 students in rotation within each classroom. So our small setting really allows students to thrive. Could you go back quick? I'm just going to pass it to Amy, and then she'll just talk a little bit about our goal setting and growth monitoring.
Yeah, so we do a high sequence within our student-centered goals and our growth monitoring with our students. We use individualized daily behavior goals that establish personalized goals that tailor to each student's needs, strengths, and area of growth. We collaborate with each student to define clear and measurable objectives that align with their academic and personal development, revisit and adjust goals regularly based on their feedback, and we do this weekly and sometimes even daily. Student-led data tracking, this is extremely important so they understand their growth and where they're heading to empower students to take ownership of their growth by tracking their progress daily. This provides a user-friendly tool such as charts, journals, digital apps, logging performance to reflect their outcome. And we facilitate periodic check-ins, reviewing this data and celebrating their growth. And every morning we start our day with an advisory SEL circle. And in this circle, we begin each day with a structure of SEL, restorative practices, reviewing homework, setting goals for the day, missing assignments, upcoming deadlines, and share strategies for overcoming challenges. It's really a community bonding experience for the students. And then within our SEL that I do teach every single day to empower emotional intelligence. In this, we do goals for the day, and we do this as a group and as individually, and we encourage students to identify specific attainable goals to start the day. For an example, completing your homework, participating in group discussions, using your coping skills to decrease being on red, which is a high level of anxiety or frustration, and independently doing that, or using the tools that we offer at Help. And additional supports that we offer, and not limited to speech, occupational therapy, mental health services, social work, related therapy services, and outside providers, as needed.
So, our community at Hopkins East Learning Program. So we're proud to serve a diverse community of learners. We currently have 17 scholars, all 9 through 12 right now. We do not have any middle schoolers at our group or at our site, and we have 2 scholars who are open enrolled. So then looking at this chart, whoa, I need to zoom in on that, I'm sorry. We have 82% of our scholars identify as male, 18% identify as female, and we do not have any scholars within our site who are ELL. 55% are white, and then the other 45% are African American or identify as Black or 2 or more races. And then if you can go to the next slide, thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is missing a couple things, but I'll fill it in. So we really focus a lot on student culture. We are built on a foundation of curiosity, respect, and collaboration. Our diverse student body brings together, creating a dynamic learning environment where every voice is valued. And we encourage to explore their passions, challenge their thinking, and support each other during this academic growth and personal growth. The culture of Hopkins East emphasizes not only on academic excellence, but also in personal development. Students are engaged in hands-on learning opportunities, group projects, community building activities that fosters teamwork, empathy, and leadership. We believe that learning goes beyond the classroom. We are committed to sharing and supporting an inclusive environment where students feel empowered, take risks, and exploring new ideas. And with this up here, we're using Panorama school climate survey results this year. 81% of our students feel encouraged to think more deeply and inclusivity. 84% feel valued and respected by their staff. 86 report that they have a teacher that they can count on to help them. And whether through its discussion, classroom, extracurricular activities, or community service, students are encouraged to contribute to a culture of positive change and continuous improvement. On our next slide, we were doing a comparison of the growth that we've been really aiming to have within our Panorama engagement data. It's committed to continuous improvement in student success, and according to our numbers, we just want to go over a couple behavior data. From 2023 to 2024, we had 27 incidents, and this year we only have 7 incidents. Vaping products were 12, and this year we have 1. It was 6 physical aggressions down to 0 physical aggressions, and 18 suspensions down to 5 suspensions, and 84% of our students leveraging the Panorama data, scholars believe that it can effectively lift themselves out of a bad mood by applying their SEL skills that they have been taught. And by analyzing this engagement and metrics, we're able to identify trends, celebrate successes, and pinpoint areas where adjustment might be necessary, whether it's refining teaching strategies or offering new resources. This data really allows us to create more personalized and responsive learning to environment.
Could I ask a quick question on the data? So school year 23-24 would be a full school year.
Mm-hmm.
Would this school year 24-25 just be half?
Yeah, this is just on track of using our data and our SEL skills, and then hopefully we're going to stay on track with our lower numbers and encouraging students to be more self-advocacy rather than using aggression and physical aggression.
Thanks.
If we can go to the next slide. So some cool things that you've heard that we're doing at Hopkins East and With our HELP program, they work closely with the U of M as well. With the Green Superheroes program, it's our 4-H program. They work with Virtual EDU, focused on hydroponics. So right now we have a lot of collard greens, a lot of arugula, and now we're just like taking these things, just eating them and trying to have like a salad party here pretty soon. But we work with the U of M pretty closely to have that garden at our space, and that's something that our scholars really enjoy and take the time to participate in. Next slide. Another thing that we're doing over here at Hopkins East is we have our Peace Garden, our functional fitness space. Our students really enjoy the functional fitness space. I wish I had the picture of our scholar who was lifting with his coat on. That's how much he enjoys it. He just kept his coat on and started doing the bench press. But they use that space to calm down or just work out, or for gym, because sometimes we offer gym in our space as well. So what is new at HELP, and what is helping us continue to grow and help our scholars stay on a path of success? So we have career exploration now, where our scholars are able to focus on different opportunities and engaging in hands-on activities. So they were like making T-shirts, they were learning how to make different mugs and things of that nature. And eventually, we want to be able to take them on different field trips and provide them with different interactive activities, but we are providing more resources for career exploration at HELP. Another thing that's new is instead of just conferences, we do monthly family check-ins. So all of our case managers are checking in with the scholars' families every month to figure out how they can support and let them know about their academics and engagement. Another thing that we're really focused on is skills-based learning. Our students like to tell us, like, hey, we really enjoy drawing. We really want to learn how to do a YouTube channel. So then we focus on that skill and we support them in that skill. And that's something that we've been doing in their free time to help them, kind of like a win session or what I need type session. So who are all of the people here at Hopkins East supporting the scholars? We have Melissa Morrow-Koss, Colin Beachy, Peter Zatz, Sean Kirsting, Nico Lopez, Austin Oakes, Amy Gregoire, and myself. These are the amazing staff that you see here in the picture supporting our setting for scholars in our district. And the reason, yep, go ahead, that's fine. No, you're fine, you can just go.
You're okay.
And
at HELP, we really want to have the ability to tailor the learning experience and fit into their individual needs. That's a high priority for us. Rather, that means to adjusting their pace, pursuing their personal interest, and working in a space that they feel comfortable. That all makes a difference when we're coming to HELP. Our students thrive in an atmosphere that values autonomy, creativity, and balance, where we have the freedom to take ownership of their learning journey. Do you have any questions?
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
I do have a question. So how do you fit into the special education strategy, right? Is it, like, do they get referred to you, or how do they end up with you?
Yep, so students do get referred to us within the district, so then they would come to us from the high school. We would work with their special education lead at the high school, follow our steps of making sure that we have all of the information we need, and then we would say, this is the best fit for that scholar.
Thanks.
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
So we thank you so much for the presentation. We had the opportunity, some of us as board members, to participate in one of the circles at HELP. And it was so wonderful to see how you blended exactly what you were talking about, restorative practices, a time for check-in. There was a heavy logistical element, right, which is like part of scaffolding for student success. And I was really struck by the behavior data that you showed earlier. And I'm wondering if you can talk a bit more about the correlation between this daily practice that happens at the beginning and the end of the day, and what you're seeing in terms of behavior and how students are interacting in community with each other.
So we're high emphasis on social emotional learning and emotional intelligence. That is one of our main focus. So not only do we have a circle in the beginning of the day that emphasizes that, we also do a closing circle at the end of the day that kind of wraps up the day and kind of like, what are we going to learn tomorrow? What are we looking forward to tomorrow? And then also I provide every day a social emotional learning aspect. And in this class, we really talk about higher level learning of anxiety, your emotions. And these are things that are just not talked about enough in high school. And so bringing this to our students every single day, I always try to remind them that we're one of the very, very few that get this opportunity every single day to have social emotional learning. So you're going to be leaving out of this program with this higher level of understanding of who you are as a human and what makes you tick, what makes you excited, what makes you frustrated. And then also throughout the day, we incorporate all those social emotional learning. So on their behavior goals, it's incorporated exactly what they're working on. Everyone does not have the same behavior goals and behavior data on their sheets. So they can earn from 0 to 10 points per hour of the day, and every single goal is different on each student because we want to make sure it's solidified for who they are and make sure it's personalized for what they're working on. And so that kind of just reminds them of what they are, what their growth area and what they're doing really strong in. And what they're doing strong is, you notice that they pass it on to the other students. They encourage other students to be like calming down in areas where they're pretty good at, or maybe they're really good at math, so they help them with their math homework. They do this bonding that really helps them collaborate well as a team.
So integrated. Thank you.
Chair Andreessen?
Yes.
So could you just make sure our board members understand the difference between setting 3 and setting 4? Because I think it's important for all of us to acknowledge that it's unique for us to provide this program to our students. Many other districts refer their setting 4 students to 287, and we have a couple of board members that sit on 287's board. So what's the difference and what makes us unique?
In our district, we still refer some scholars to 287 as well. But to explain it, a setting 3 versus a setting 4. In a setting 4, a student is only receiving special education courses. They're not in any general education courses. So within a setting 3, that student may have some academic strategies or different courses that are intertwined with the gen ed setting. But in our setting, there's no general education at all. So that is my way of explaining it to you guys.
Yeah. It's only special education classes. So they're not exposed to the general education population.
So there's no licensed gen ed teacher there. They're all special education teachers who specialize in their field and then use their skills to support in other academic areas. So we really lean on the high school for support, and we appreciate them allowing us to use like their different Canvas courses to be able to support our students, because otherwise we would just be making a lot of the content just from our knowledge. So the high school does share a lot of their content with us, so we're able to support our scholars.
Is there anything that you need to do to differently or more thoughtfully to provide a sense of belonging for I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 students who are female or identify as female? Because it's very like boy heavy.
Yes, I think that we could do a lot for our scholars since it is boy heavy. And what we try to do is just create an open environment of authenticity where they can come and communicate with us about things that they need to. And if they're in a class and they feel overwhelmed because there are so many males in that space, then we allow them to use the flex space to support and be out in their learning. And then since our classes are really small, we can fix them in a way to have more of our female students who are coming in person daily be in groups, and then have our male students in groups as well.
And have that support.
Okay.
I did have a follow-up question, and thanks for making that distinction between setting 3 and setting 4. I think it's not something that most people are aware of. And as the board member who serves on 287, I am wondering about your racial demographics. I think the gender demographics are pretty aligned with what we see in setting 4 at 287. but the racial demographics are different. I would say much more skewed toward the Black BIPOC being overrepresented. And so I'm wondering if there are any thoughts about that. How is that process? How do kids move from 3 to 4 and then determined to stay in Hopkins as opposed to being referred out to 287? Just, I just found that interesting, that there was such a difference.
We decide if a student is best fit for help is based on physical aggression, right? We are in a location that is not heavily secured. We do have locked facilities, and then we're in a location where there is a highway as well. So it poses some unsafe situations for scholars. So if a scholar is coming in and they may need more support and more security, then we would say 287 would be the best fit for that student. I believe the reason why we do have more scholars who are European American Caucasian is because the way that our program was set up was to support some of those scholars who maybe needed that extra support, but who weren't physical. And as you know, a lot of those students who were physical, it was heavily skewed towards scholars who look like me. So maybe those scholars then were sent to 287. But what we're trying to do at HELP is set us up so that way we're able to support more students from just the Hopkins School District coming into our program, regardless of how they identify or how we identify them as race.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other questions. I appreciate your presentation a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
great
Oh,
evening.
do you have a question? Please do.
No, I was going to just say thank you all for being here. This information is really helpful, especially as I'm learning more about like all the schools. East was something I was really interested in learning about. So thank
We
you.
invite you to come over anytime.
Hey, you know what? If there's any events, please share with us. I would love to come to an event and come and check you all out anytime.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes the superintendent report?
Yes.
Great. So we will move to the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. We now will consider the consent calendar. These are items provided to the board with information considered to be more routine in nature. If the board deems an item to be necessary for additional discussion, a motion will be made to move the item to new business. I do not believe there are any that are considered to be needing more discussion. So I would look for a recommendation to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent calendar has been approved. And now we are on to the treasurer's report. Newly appointed, reappointed Treasurer Hartland.
Wonderful, thank you, and good evening, everybody. This evening, I wanted to talk just a little bit about budget uncertainties and how those uncertainties might impact us moving forward. So at the district level, we faced particularly high costs associated with transportation so far this year and are still undergoing a transportation cost audit to see what is feasible for us as a district moving forward. We are still in contract negotiations with some employee groups, not the teachers. That was our largest employee group and really made the news. But as we've heard several times at this table, we have multiple bargaining units. And a couple of those are still in negotiations according to their own calendars and schedules. We also are still, as a district, facing the implementation of the 50-plus new mandates that were issued for schools in the previous both policy and legislative the policy and funding legislative cycles. And very few of those had permanent funding sources attached. Some had no funding at all, and others had temporary or partial funding attached. So this has meant not just the district facing evolving costs from directly complying with the mandate itself, but it takes person hours from our administration, from the LAC, to from teachers to enact and to monitor and adapt our budget forecast and curriculum, and there's just a lot of overhead that goes with complying with these pieces. And those were not the time and the money and the person effort required to implement some of those mandates was not necessarily completely well considered, or perhaps that's a little bit unfair to say, or it was overlooked and not completely accounted for when that bill was passed. So that is still something that our district is grappling with, and that is found to be true. Certainly if we attend AMSD meetings or we talk to our legislators, we know that that's true across the state of Minnesota. More at the state level, we're entering a funding year and not completely sure how much funding is going to be allocated to public schools. As I mentioned in a previous board meeting, our state is facing a relatively small fiscal surplus for this year and a deficit for the following. So we will likely not find out our district's allocation till May. And that is just how our funding calendar works in Minnesota, that we're to work on our budget this whole time and have conversations with the community and with staff and with students, but we have to do that using our best educated hypotheses, which we do, and we do this every year, but the calendar works out such that it is May before we get our final funding allocations. Additionally, the state's legislative session has not started very smoothly, to say the least. There's a near tie in the House, and we do not know exactly how those factors will play out. They may end up being near non-issues to us, or they could end in state government shutdowns like in 2011. And then at the federal level, incoming administration has made some statements that call into question the future of the Department of Education. And we don't receive a large portion of our total budget from federal sources, but any decrease in revenue is highly impactful when you have such slim margins as public schools do. And so combined, all of these factors paint a picture where we as a district, as a board, as parents, as students, are going to have to really stay informed about these issues and keep revisiting these discussions as we learn more. So we have that to all look forward to over the coming months. Some expenses of note in our recent report is $15,892 for employee vision coverage to Superior Vision Services. $32,000 went to Lincoln National Life Insurance Company for staff life and long-term disability insurance. $43,187 went to Regents of the University of Minnesota for college in schools, and that is to pay both the tuition enrollment fee and enrollment fees of the students involved and for the certification of teachers to be able to administer college in schools, or CIS, you might hear it referred to. That's a program at the Hopkins High School which enables students to take high school classes for college credit at no cost to them. We paid $5,149 to Minnesota Playground Incorporated for their installation of new playground equipment at an elementary site. We paid $715 to Scholastic, the same company that ran your book fairs. They're still around. They have a magazine that's called Let's Find Out, and so we paid for that for the students at Alice Smith. $11,179 went for contracted special ed therapy services for the month of November. $2,046 to the Historical Society for a field trip. $1,372 to Summit Companies for fire safety inspections and service on extinguishers across the district. $47,785 to Excel Energy for electrical service at various sites. $14,580 to Viking Automatic Sprinkler for sprinkler system inspections at our various sites. I know I have hit inspections hard in these reports in the last couple, but we have a lot of systems that we need to maintain compliance with. And with that, I move that we approve total disbursements in the amount of $2,823,383.06 for the period of December 1st through December 31st, 2024.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Chair Andreessen.
Yes, Clerk Thompson.
This was a challenging report, and I appreciate some correspondence I had with Treasurer Hartland earlier. So, just to kind of let people know some stuff that we looked at and talked about is, first of all, I think we'll have further discussions with Director Chapanduka to try to understand the whole solar thing that's happening. Because, we see this, at least $160,000 spent to different LLCs for solar. And so it sounds like there's some arrangement where we are purchasing energy produced by solar, from these other companies, and then whatever else we need, we fill in by paying Excel. So we'll get some more information on that at some point soon here too. And then secondly, kind of the big thing, I was struck in looking at this, probably at least 10, individuals or LLCs, and, while they're small numbers, $700 here, $900 there, when we're in this environment where, really every dollar counts, it seems like some of that, we're statutorily required to spend 2% of our budget on professional development. And so some of those are, coaching leaders at different school sites, that type of thing. But, I think what we had talked about is to confirm that that is the statutory requirement, that we have to spend 2% of our budget on PD. And then, I think, just as I was thinking about that, if we're struggling to find things to pay that 2% to, would that be something potentially LAC could bring up with the legislature? Like, hey, could you free us up a little bit where we don't feel like we necessarily need to use 2 out of every $100 on professional development, give us a little more local control. Could be something for LAC to think about.
Specifically to the LAC piece, local control is an aspect that is highlighted and will definitely be leaned upon, especially as we know that a larger financial ask is likely going to be infeasible. At the AMSD preview that a couple people attended to, several lawmakers spoke to that, not specifically the PD, but to the loosening of some of these mandates as a possibility. I mentioned that we're not off to the greatest start, and so I think a sincere hope of certainly the LAC.
I'm wondering if this is a conversation that could best be had offline. Seems like
yeah, I think we're
you've
done.
already
I was just
initiated
I
that
was
conversation.
just wanted to have those two things out there. So thanks.
I think that I hear what you're saying about the LAC. I think that there was a time and a place for directors to give input to the LAC. And on the platform, as Treasurer Hartland was mentioning, that is on the platform, local control. So definitely as co-chair of the LAC, shoot ideas all the time out. It's always appreciated as we have conversations, especially for the breakfast coming up. But right now, we are talking about the Treasurer's Report. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The Treasurer's Report is passed. That takes us to the board officers and committee assignments, which is where we were spending our time an hour before this meeting started. This is the first time I have done this, so I might lean a little bit on prior board chair Westmoreland. I know that I gotta ask things in triplicate. I do remember that. So we will go through and make official the conversations that we had during our workshop. I think that we have to do the election of the officers here at the board table, and we will be posting the committee assignments on our website. So I will kick us off with looking for a nomination for board chair.
Chair Andreessen, I would like to nominate Shannon Andreessen to continue as our board chair.
Thank you, Director Westmoreland. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Shannon Andreessen, myself, serving as board chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
The next office is vice chair. And I would look for a motion a nomination for vice chair. I would like to nominate Director Ross. Do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination for vice chair. Jason Ross accepts the nomination for vice chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, I would, all those in favor of Jason Ross serving as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That takes us to, so Jason Ross is serving another year as vice chair. That takes us to treasurer. I would look for a nomination for treasurer.
Chair Andreessen,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Treasurer Rachel Hartland to remain treasurer.
Thank you. Yes, I accept the nomination.
That's wonderful. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Rachel Hartland serving as treasurer, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Rachel Hartland is serving as treasurer, and that takes us to clerk. I would look for a nomination for the position of clerk.
Chair Andreessen, I would like to nominate Clerk Kai Thompson to continue in the position of clerk.
Thank you. Are there any, oh, sorry, do you accept?
I would accept.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, I would look for a vote for Kai Thompson to serve as clerk. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Clerk Thompson continues to serve as clerk. And so I would direct our public to go and look at our website probably tomorrow, and underneath our names on the school board page will be listed the committees that we are serving on for the upcoming year until January of 2026. So thank you all for serving and continuing to be part of the board and serving on committees. I know I can be a lot, but it is definitely important and impactful work. So thank you for that. And now we will go to a conversation around policy 652, learner-to-teacher ratios. I'd invite Assistant Superintendent Lightfoot to the table. And I also just wanted to give a little context around why we are discussing this policy here at the board table instead of having it come to us from the monitoring committee, which is our practice. As a school board, when I was part of the monitoring committee, I remember distinctly lots of conversations around this topic. And I think that given the feedback and what we've been hearing from our community is perhaps a lack of understanding around the conversations that we do have as a board about this very important topic. Least of which is that we are all parents, so we are personally impacted by learner-to-teacher ratios and class sizes. This is not something we don't think about and experience ourselves every day, but we do have these conversations. And also just to give an understanding of what is the school board's role in this topic. I think it's important to bring those conversations that we usually have in a committee setting to the board table so that we can kind of see what those conversations look like and how the board is informed and also what input we have. So I will turn it over to Vice Chair Ross.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Andreessen. Yes, definitely there's been a lot of feedback from the community just wanting to understand learner-to-teacher ratios. And I know last fiscal year that came up quite a bit. And so obviously we've invited our resident expert, Dr. Lightfoot, to the table to be able to walk our peers here at the table through this policy number 652, learner-to-teacher ratios, the background about it. And so while Hopkins does not have that specific policy regarding class size, policy 652 outlines a number of variables that impact learner-to-teacher ratios. This policy aims to provide contextual understanding around the factors that impact and inform educationally sound, instructionally appropriate, and fiscally responsible adult-to-teacher or student ratios across elementary and secondary classrooms. Obviously, factors influencing class size decisions include classroom supply limitations, financial constraints, availability of licensed staff, curriculum needs, student enrollment, and demographics. So I will hand it over to Dr. Lightfoot and open it up for any feedback or conversations from our board peers.
Sure. Happy to be of information and resource this evening as part of the conversation. As mentioned, you do have, as a board, a learner-to-teacher ratio policy. This policy has, over time, really identified, as was mentioned, those particular factors that go into looking at what that class size looks like given variable sets of conditions and circumstances, trying to outline that as we do so, we take into consideration those key elements of instruction, fiscal responsibility, and any other sets of conditions that would be an impact on what that class size looks like. I think it's important to note that as this policy also identifies, we do give the board updates. We try at the beginning of each year to make sure that the board is aware of where we at least see those class sizes starting. And then as we do a mid-year report, especially as we consider what it looks like for budget, for funding, we try to make sure that we keep that updated information in front of the board, as was guidance from the monitoring committee at least 2 times throughout the course of the school year. So you'll note those are the particular conditions that are associated with the general guidelines. Much more of the particulars are really done, especially as you are aware, through the budgeting process. And as we have now moved much of that budgeting process consideration to local conversations that are really held at the building level with their instructional teams and building administration, such that they can look at where those needs are, consider their sets of conditions that they're working toward, and then look at how they can utilize resources locally, depending on what needs they foresee and how they see those best playing out. So that can look different at the elementary level than it can at the middle, than it can at the high school, depending. Some of that is also dependent on scheduling, on registrations, as you heard earlier this evening, and trying to look at what courses will fill, what courses will not. Sometimes those go into place depending on what that variability might look like from year to year also. So those are some of the conditions that go into it. As part of any conversation, I'm more than helpful to be a resource, more than helpful to be a set of information for any general questions that may come about, just given that background to start off the dialogue.
Thank you for that. Anyone have any questions, input?
So Chair Andreessen, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that the conversation tonight isn't about adapting this policy, that this is more of an informational session so that our community understands the purview of the board when it comes to determining learner to teacher ratios, and so that we can ask clarifying questions as board members. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add one thing, Chair Andreessen? I think also sometimes our parents, maybe even staff, feel like the school board will set class size, and it's really important that everyone understands how complex determining class by class from preschool through grade 12 and even into transition plus, how complex that process is, right? With staffing, with our budgetary constraints, with licensure requirements, with, like Dr. Lightfoot said, who registers for what course at the high school. There's so much that goes into it that it's just not possible for the school board to set class size, because it's a complex process that really requires a number of staff and district leaders to work together more at the school level.
Chair Andreessen,
Yes.
could you provide any background information or contextual information on what state statute says about class size?
Really, you won't see, there are general sets of information around when it comes to class size, nothing that is particular. Oftentimes people will look for a specific number. There is no required specific number that is for general education.
Sure.
When you think of caseloads, there are some specifics that are related to special education. And of course, those are one of the levels of complexity that we continue to look at when we think about students that we serve in the community that we have. So we are mindful of those. But as far as state statute being very particular, for example, does it look different at various levels with what that is, or are there particular requirements in statute? They're not for general education courses.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Chair Andreessen?
Yes, Chair
Yes.
Trujillo.
I do have more broadly, right? So this, we're letting our community and having the discussion that, yeah, it's very complicated and there's a lot of moving parts. I think that makes sense. I think if somebody was interested in like more specifics, when are we going to have those further conversations, or that, I think, semi-annual report? Does that come out at a certain time every year, or when would we refer people to be like, okay, it's coming X date, wait for it then? Is there guidance, or when's the timing on that?
Are you speaking about where
When we talk about
class sizes
specific-
are generally?
Yes, right.
I think we get like an ADM in October. I don't think class sizes are a part of that.
We do at the start of the school year. There's a general report that we look at so that you know how many students are registered, how many students are part of that, so that opening of school report in general that we look at. And as well, you will also see throughout the course of the budget conversations that we have, those are the updated points that we've typically looked at. If there were requests for specific information at points in time, we certainly can bring that forward. If there are any requests to do so, certainly on any agenda, we can provide that information from Infinite Campus as well as a source of data that, if requested, certainly we can be ready for and have dialogue about if there are specific questions related to what that might be.
There's also the metro area class size report that we participate in through Brightworks. So I think we said in February it
usually
comes
February
out.
and March that comes out.
And that gives some district by district comparisons. So that can also be provided to the board and our community as well. It's a public report.
So some additional context provided with that.
Okay, yeah, I think that'd be good to, for those that are like, okay, but what does it really, I think we can say, okay, let's wait till February and then or March, and we can have that in-depth conversation. So appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, and I think too, part of what lends itself to the complexity is that a number on a paper can feel very different depending on where you are. You know, you can go to one classroom and 15 feels full, and another classroom 15 is like, oh, you can hear crickets chirping. And so I think just knowing that that's just a number and isn't the reality of what that feels like, I think is important. And another reason why, as a parent, I wouldn't support class size mandates, because the opposite is true. Like, you could be getting yourself and, be careful what you wish for. And also, I think too, another factor that plays into it, and forgive me if I missed you mentioning it, but we also now are restricted because class sizes are part of teacher negotiations, which is something that I don't think we could even put into policy anymore.
That did become, through legislative change, part of the terms and conditions definition when we look at those mandatory subjects of collective bargaining. So we do work with our education association as partners in this, in looking at class size components, learner to teacher ratio within policy, and then as well within the conversations that we have with them through the collective bargaining process as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Great, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate this. I believe you get to stay with us for the next agenda item, which is approval of the 25-26 calendar and second read.
So bringing back to you, based on the input that you had back with our Education Association partners, looking at additional models through drafts, we have arrived collectively at what is in front of you this evening. Part of the conversations were where to place some of the professional development in spaces. As we know, we will be looking to continue the work of the READ Act. That was of highlight and discussion in looking at this iteration. We also looked at part of the conversation of where some of that could be placed as it impacts start and end of the school year. We did go back and make sure that we did double check all, at least as what we had so far, with the best set of information we could related to holidays. So you've seen that added to this set of information that's in front of you. Part of the work that we did also looked at adding instructional days, which is documented at the end. So you can see that work as well. It really kind of reflects the input that we've had. One of the open questions that I appreciate came forward was really around the placement of middle-level conferences. When you look at the middle-level conferences and conversation with our middle-level partners, we did look at that November 3rd as middle school conferences. Part of the question was, could we look at that in working with families, try to think about its placement in October, right along that 13, 14, 15 corridor prior to MEA. Part of the feedback that we received was when it is earlier, it is more difficult to provide as much information as you can. The more time that you have to work with young people, the better you may be able to have some of those conversations about adequate progress that's being made throughout the course of the school year. That was one point of interest, but they are open as well to considering if that is more efficient. Part of the other challenge that we have is when we have a larger contingency of all of that happening at the same time, the need for interpreting services, other sets of services when we have more occurring at the same time can become more difficult to meet. So those were some of the pieces that we received as initial sets of feedback to that inquiry. The recommendation is to hold on that November 3rd placement with middle school, but there still is an interest in looking at if there really is a desire, there could be the conversation around that placement. But that's what I would add based on the question feedback that we received, and am open to additional questions if there are some at this point.
Thank you. I did actually have a question. So it looks like around that time, that's when the quarter ends is that for middle school conferences?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That quarter one ends for the high school on November 3rd.
Okay. And that's high school conferences?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Great.
Well, if you're asking on the conferences, you'll see the line on the middle school. High school ends quarter one. The high school conferences are October 3rd. We usually tend to do those conferences midterm.
Great, thank you. And then I did see too that I think this looks pretty much like what we looked at before, if I'm correct. Were there any significant changes?
Minor adjustments, I would say, to make sure that we went back, double-checked all of our dates. Like we said, part of the open questions were where we were placing professional development. And looking and going back with our professional development providers, getting feedback from our staff. What is the best way to look at that job embedded professional development happening frequently throughout the year? What we asked was, can you place more in front? Can we place more at the end? And the feedback that we did receive is that it really seems most effective when you're able to be in the space doing the work that you're doing and immediately being able to utilize what you've learned to have that greater return on the investment that we're doing with professional development.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Chair Andreessen.
Yes, Clerk Thompson.
Dr. Lightfoot, I did go and look back at the first draft, and didn't we have the last day as June 5th, but we were, you know, we knew it was razor tight, and so it might have to come back after that weekend, and so.
Yep, so you'll see those.
They'll have to come back for 3 days after that.
Yep. So we did go back, and that was one of the changes that we looked at was that last week. Educators were already there for that week. Part of their feedback was part of looking at if there's a way, and we know that we're going to be there for that week, how can we make the best of that week? Generally, when they reminded us about the way that they plan and look for those days, they said whether we place it in the week ahead or the week after really doesn't matter as much throughout the course of the learning. Where the significance was is if there's an ability to look at professional development throughout the course of the learning year, it's more effective to do that throughout the course of the learning year for them. And if you do that throughout the course, which we did, it does move that date, that end date, further into that week. And the other thing that we did is we looked at surrounding calendars as well. And that does seem to be the overall threshold that more of our neighboring districts are looking at as well. So we did pull all of those calendars as part of this process to look and see if that would be an outlier, and it is not, based on the information that we did with our Education Association.
Thank you.
Chair Andreessen.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? I mean, was there any thought given of like shortening winter break a little bit in order to not push it as far into June, or?
It's a great question. Part of that is the Education Association has been clear that really one of the parameters that is front and center for them is that 2 weeks at winter break.
Understood.
Chair Andreessen?
Yes, Treasurer Hartland.
Do we do this at approximately the same time as other surrounding school districts? We pass our calendar in this first, second, third week of January. I ask because I had a little bit of community feedback that's like, well, we have to start registering for camps
Right.
immediately in January. And
Yep. And that's always our goal. Our goal is right around that November, December timeframe. And so this, based on the last conversation we had with the meeting and timeframe in December, was to get it as soon as we could here.
sure, thank you.
And I think part of the feedback, what we've tried to do in previous years is try to do 2-year cycles. And just knowing that past years and some of the volatility with looking at, okay, what does it look like this year? What does it look like next? It is always a conversation of, do we feel that we could look at 2 years? I think sometimes that's just more helpful, even if you can see well into the future. So we are already starting to look at the 26-27 school year and putting that together as well.
And we know that there's some question marks there because school districts everywhere will be lobbying to not have to, or well, probably will be asking to have an exemption from our requirement to start after Labor Day. Since it'll be like September 10th or something
Yeah.
like that, that we'd have to start
Yep.
school next year.
That one has its own challenges so far.
Not for this coming September, to clarify for the community, not September 2025. So I can see why you would not want to be publishing yet. Discussions are on that calendar while so much is still up in the air.
Chair Andreessen, can I ask one more quick question?
Sure.
Has there ever been thought of doing like 2 days for middle school conferences? I've heard it's just like super chaotic in one day.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. We do ask our sites to really consider that. We have in the past had multiple days for middle level conferences, different conferences and different types of exchange of information, take different formats. I mean, you see the gamut. There are some spaces that have really done away with conferences and have created different concepts called office hours where people can call or connect with instructors to get feedback. So they don't build conference days into the calendar at all. They tend to try to use as many days as they can, even more focusing on that instructional delivery aspect of the calendar. And there are some who, like you identify, may use more days for middle level conferencing or high school conferencing than we do based in our structure. We certainly can bring that back to the middle level as a question. And they have, in the past, like I said, have had 2-day experiences, but their staff and their feedback that they've looked at over time with their instructional leadership teams have moved them to the model that we see here, but always open for feedback and further exploration.
Thank you. Any other questions? Great, then I would look for a motion to approve the 2025-26 calendar in second read.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The 2025-26 calendar is approved. Thank you. And that takes us to policies in first read. I will turn it over to Vice Chair Ross.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. Yes, so Dr. Lightfoot is still here at our table, and we're going to have 4 policies, the 450s that we're going to be going over. One of the recommendations is for 457 to remove this policy completely. But yes, we're going to be walking you guys through the 450 series of the policies that we have in front of you. And I will hand it over to Dr. Lightfoot.
Thank you. Policy, as was identified in front of you presently, are those staff policies that we have, personnel policies. You'll see 454, which is a local policy. There are no MSBA policies, model policies particular to this. But you'll see the first one not recommending any changes as it stands right now to professional staff transfers and assignment to vacancies. Would be open to specific questions if there are those related to policy 454.
Chair Andreessen.
Yes,
I'm just curious, is there a reason why MSBA doesn't have a model policy on this one? Do you know? Or?
It's a good question. Probably the best way to answer that is some of this is policy set by the board. Some of it can be set within collective bargaining agreements. And since those collective bargaining agreements are so local, it would be very difficult to write a particular model policy, not knowing all the nuances that come into play with all the local collective bargaining agreements.
That makes sense. Thanks.
I think we can go on to 455.
In that same similar vein, 455 is conference attendance. These are the particulars that we have around conference attendance and specifics that are contained here within the regulations that do really outline much of the information as it is in front of you with transportation, meals, approval processes, the specifics and the particulars that go along with the approval of the conference and the details for individuals who are attending. So no recommended changes with this. Moving it forward again. If there are questions on that, I'm happy to address those also.
Doesn't look like there are any questions.
All right. 456 is staff ethics conflict of interest. We are particular with this, no recommended changes at this point. Really, this is about giving staff guidance and us as implementers of policies, as administrators, really the guidelines about how we work toward holding ourselves, really doing our work to hold ourselves responsible for high levels of ethics, avoiding conflicts of interest, and if there are potential conflicts of interest, making sure that we are clear in stating those so that we can be upfront with and specific about following those determining conflicts of interest standards that are on the third page that are located within the policy. So with that, if there are questions about this, I'm happy to address those also.
I don't see any.
All right. Then 457 is we go through our 3-year cycle of review. This is up for review. And this 457 came about, some of you will remember lots of conversation in the inclusion of the information here regarding masking, regarding much of the information when we were in processing the mandates, requirements, if you will, of the sets of conditions that we were held to when we were working through those conditions in the pandemic. So that's where this policy originated from. That's where it came from. And many of those requirements were guiding us with the language that is here. Those are no longer present as those conditions have been lifted. And as part of that, the monitoring committee looked at 457 and would, much of this being outdated, look to have this as a removal.
And just quickly to clarify, because this is a 400 series, it applied to employees, correct?
Correct.
Chair Andrews.
Yes, Director Zhao.
Hi, Dr. Lightfoot. I have a question about, what if the next pandemic, right, like, knock on wood, may not happen, but if it does happen, right, would we have to dust this off and put something similar, recreate the wheel? I'm wondering why we wouldn't put some caveats about, okay, if there's a health emergency, and if so mandated, right, but we would at least have it dormant, I guess, if you want to call it that, just not enforced, right? And why removal?
Yeah, those certainly could be things to consider and dialogue as a board. The nice part is in the archives, all of the policy material that you have is held through data retention component. So it's not, the information is really never lost. It is part of the archives that we have from board material. So all of the policies would be contained here. If we ever needed to dust it off, the language would be here, easily accessible.
Okay. And maybe this is more broad, but are staff required to have other vaccinations, immunizations, I think they're called, like measles, whatever? They're not.
No, and it's an important aspect to remember that even when we think through the state of Minnesota statutes, there are conditions that individuals can be exempt from vaccinations that we also work with as well for our students. So individuals can, under state statute, opt not to receive vaccinations. There are just some protocols that have to be followed for those as well.
Okay. But there's no policy that would, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that wraps up this slate of policies. Any general comments or thoughts from members of the monitoring committee before I look for a motion? So I would look for a motion that the policies and revisions are, that the board approve the above policies in first read. Further, we direct the administration to prepare the policies with any revisions or removals for approval in second reading at the next meeting as part of consent.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the policies in first read have been approved. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent
Thank you.
Lightfoot. And that takes us to our board member reports. We will get started just going around the table. I would like to start with Vice Chair Ross, if you would like to go first.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Andreessen. Good evening. My name is Jason Ross. I am now entering my final year in my first term. So obviously, starting with this new January, I had the opportunity. I guess I forgot how the process works. I have 3 kids in the system, 2 of which goes to North, and 1 goes to Tanglin. I had the opportunity on January 10th to attend the AMSD legislative or AMSD meeting where AMSD showed, not just showed, but walked through the legislative platform for 2025. And the primary focus was keeping students at the center. And lo and behold, I'm pretty sure Treasurer Hartland will appreciate this, and so will Chair Andreessen, funding priorities. So being able, we had local legislators that showed up. Obviously, one of the big names there was Cheryl Joachim, representative for Hopkins, and there were a few other representatives that were there as well. And basically what the AMSD team did was walk through the legislative platform. Again, funding priorities was number one, enhance student-centered learning, ensure safe schools for students and staff. And those were, and restore managerial rights and enhance local control. So that was walked through with our local legislators. And then it was definitely eye-opening to see a few of the districts, in particular the biggest one, Anoka-Hennepin, walking through their budget, their two-phase budget reduction and reallocation plan, and then the impact of the mandate. So they made sure that they had the attention of those local legislators for them to be able to understand how difficult these mandates were on their budget, and being able to see if there was any type of loosening of these mandates to be able to ensure that the budget, their budget, was being able to hit their particular goal that they were going after. So this was definitely, to me, what stood out the most of this meeting. It was very eye-opening. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Zhao, and we'll just go around.
Sure. Hi, this is Jiming Zhao. I am in my, just finished my first year of my first term. I've got 2 kids in the district in the Xing Xing program at Eisenhower. I think I have 2 items for the board report. One, it's been a while since we've had a meeting, so I did want to give folks an update on December 13th. We had a school safety committee meeting, had representatives from Minnetonka, Golden Valley, and Hopkins as well, both fire and police, and had a really good discussion around protocol and, you know, if something were to happen, how we could shave minutes off the response. And so it was a really good conversation. I just wanted to let community know that those conversations are being had, and they're very important to the board, as well as the school administration, and as well as our local partners. Everybody's, you know, working to keep us safe, and so we're making good progress on that from that perspective. The other thing is on the CFAC. I'm not going to steal the thunder from them too much, but I just wanted to let people know that over the last month and a half, we've met 7 or 8 times, really to talk about the budget. And now that the lid is somewhat off, right, you know, we're entering difficult times, but I definitely want people to know that we have scrutinized and looked over the flows and the budget, and really we have some professionals in finance on the committee in community, and you know, we're turning over every stone to think about ways to lessen the pain as much as possible. So I just wanted to mention that those are some of the things I was working on. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Director Jen Westmoreland, she, her. This is my 8th year on the Hopkins School Board, and it's really been an honor to serve our community in this capacity. I'm a proud graduate of Hopkins Schools, and I have a student at West Middle School. I have been working with a group of school board members on the national level through an organization called Local Progress to understand what the impacts could be for public education nationally under the incoming administration, and thought partner around how we are thinking through policy and budget decisions on the local level. Also, what type of advocacy we're doing to our state legislatures. And this came up earlier. Chair Andreessen was talking about how fortunate we are to have such a strong LAC here in Hopkins, and colleagues from across the country are blown away by the quality of our platform and just the clarity of our work and the powerful coalitions that we've built. So it's been exciting to share that with them as a best practice.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kai Thompson. I am just finished my first year of my first term. I have 3 kids in the district, 4th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. Only board report I believe I have since the last meeting we had was able to attend the middle school choir concert at North Middle School. Really great program, under Director Sam Hagan. And I thought one of the coolest things was seeing that program last year. He was both accompanying and directing at the same time, and this time he had a dedicated accompanist so he could focus on directing. So great to see the program kind of building, and there were more kids out for it this year as well, so that was just really great to see.
Hello, my name is Brooke Roper. I am serving my first, well, I'm going into my second year serving on the board. Just finished my first term. Just a quick few things. I will be attending the ESAC meeting this Thursday, on Thursday, to learn more about the work that they are doing. I will also be going to the the Minnesota School Board Association's conference this week as well. I will be doing some tabling on the importance of electric school buses, and then also just working with my coalition to get the information out to different school districts, and just to also learn more about what MSB have planned for us this year. The LAC breakfast is also this Friday that I will also be attending. Last week, I had the opportunity to go to a field trip with my daughter out at the campfire. And I'm sorry, I have 2 amazing kids in the district. I had the opportunity to go to a field trip with her, and I just want to reiterate the importance of spending time with your children in the classrooms or just visiting their schools. It really does help them, with their educational journey. And she was very excited about it, and she still talks about it to this day. So I think it's really important that we all practice a little bit of spending time with our kids inside of their classrooms on their journeys of education. And I also want to just send my heartfelt just thoughts out to the school board and the students over in California with the Palisades wildfires. I can imagine what that school board is actually going through right now with some of the burnt down schools. They've been really heavy on my mind. I know a lot of the members were a part of, some of the members were a part of the cohort that I was a part of with school board partners. And so I would just like to just share my thoughts and sentiments, and however I could support, I'm definitely down to do so. So that's all that I have for tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Treasurer Rachel Hartland and use she, her pronouns. And I have 3 children who are in their 9th, 7th, and 5th grade years here in the district at various sites. I have happily lived in the district in Minnetonka for 9 years now, and I am proud to be in my 4th year on the board, the final year of my first term. It feels like it has been a very long time since we were last at this table, and so I was trying to remember the things that I've worked on. I did attend the AMSD legislative session preview, which was very informative. The Legislative Action Coalition's been mentioned several times. All the board members here should have an invitation to that breakfast that's coming up on the 17th. The Citizens Financial Advisory Committee has been mentioned. We have met multiple times, even over winter break, to provide oversight and suggestions to the district as the budgeting process continues. And as Director Zhao said, that committee is very diligent. It takes that job very seriously and asks questions very seriously. So if there's community members listening who probably we're talking about future budgeting cycles at this point, but we do take, if you're listening and are interested in school finance and are willing to lend your time, then please feel free to email me, because it is called the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, and we would welcome new members. December 18th, this was, I believe, after our last board meeting, the board and then the Office of the Treasurer, we kind of hosted a community discussion on school finance that was virtual, and all staff and community members were welcome to attend. The purpose of that conversation was to build some shared understanding around how schools get funded, where there are gaps in that funding, and what we can expect or, frankly, not expect from the upcoming Minnesota legislative session. And that discussion is posted, I believe, it's for sure on our school board website. I'm not sure if it's been posted anywhere else at this point, but it is available for review. It was recorded. I attended the North Middle School choir concert as well, the 9th grade band, orchestra, and choir concert, which was great to present it in that format. Ms. Nora Tycast always does a fantastic job, in addition to the middle school directors, who also are amazing. And it was fun for me because my student had typically been in band. We got to 9th grade and finally got to see the band, choir, and orchestra all together. Then just when last night I was at the middle school band concert. It's concert season, so if anyone wants to hear live music, Hopkins schools can probably hook you up weekly through March, because that's where we'll be. And the middle school robotics team, there are 3 middle school robotics teams here in Hopkins, and they have a big competition coming up this Sunday in Otsego. And the participants are really excited to showcase what they've been working on. The middle school teams.
Awesome.
Yep. And that's all.
How many middle school teams are competing in Otsego?
I do not know exactly how many will be there. I know that up until this point, they kind of did practice matches, and there were 54 teams there
Middle
in
school
that
teams.
middle school teams in that conference,
awesome.
of which we were 3 of them. And I think we finished those kind of practice competitions. The Hopkins teams were, I believe, 4th, 5th, and 7th or 8th. Those were our places in there. So we are going to have, they're all going to compete against each other, actually. But amongst, there's multiple choices of where those 54 teams can go for this final qualifier match.
So you're saying we could sweep?
We could sweep. We could sweep and go to the state. That would be amazing.
That's what we're looking for.
Well, I will report back.
Well, good evening again. I'm Rhoda Mary Peary Reed, superintendent. And I have 2 children in our district, one at West, one at the high school. I've already provided my board report. Thank you, Director Roper, for mentioning Los Angeles Unified School District. I've also been just really learning a lot about the fires in Southern California and how the schools have been impacted. You know, LAUSD is the 2nd largest district in our country, serving over 500,000 students, and I can't imagine shutting down an entire system. So we should, work with our schools to think about ways that we can support even from this far, because that is an incredible impact on families and schools, and incredible. So thank you for mentioning that, and we are all thinking about our families and schools impacted in Southern California.
Thank you. I'm Shannon Andreessen. I am in my 6th year. Yeah, this is the start of my 6th year on the school board. I have a junior at the high school and a graduate of Hopkins schools. And I also work at Gatewood Elementary. I too am grateful, Director Roper, for you bringing that up. I heard a report on the way here, actually, that was from a principal at one of the schools that had been affected, and just palpable about realizing, and we all felt this during the pandemic, but I think we forgot it, but just how schools are the heartbeat of a community, and they are where students feel safe. And to have that physical building gone, the educator spoke very eloquently about how impacted they are and how desperate they are just to find a space to be together. And so I am definitely thinking of them and everyone impacted as well. And how grateful I feel for being able to be part of a community like that every day. So thank you. I too am looking forward to the breakfast and to continuing the great work that we do here at the board table and in Hopkins. So with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The board meeting is for January 14th has been adjourned at 9:11 p.m. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And thank you to our board members for staying this whole time.
Burn this.